love to keep a win streak going. Of course, this weekend we know it's going to be difficult, but we definitely know it's possible.
Last year I took out the CN category in the Asian Le Mans, and I hope to repeat it this year in the LMP2 class.
Continue to do well and try to get the crown again to defend.
Welcome to a new season for the Asian Le Mans Series. In this program, we'll take an in-depth look at how the dramatic qualifying session played out. We'll run through the 4 different categories of cars that compete against each other in this 4-hour marathon. We'll take a look at the new McLaren safety car, culminating in extended highlights of the opening round of the 2016-17 Asian Le Mans Series, including exclusive driver interviews and all the celebrations after the race.
I wish everybody the best of luck, and I'm really looking forward to a very exciting season.
So sit back, hold tight, and join us for more thrilling Asian Le Mans Series action.
Go. Copy.
Before we get into all the action from Zhuhai, let's take a quick look back at how the series progressed last year and see what lies in store in the months ahead. With more than 20 cars on the grid finishing the season in Sepang, last year's series laid a solid foundation from which to further develop endurance racing in Asia. The Asian teams that progressed to the 24 hours of Le Mans race turned in some impressive performances in Europe, with Eurasia finishing 9th overall and 5th in the LMP2 class, while the Singapore-based Clearwater Racing outfit finished 4th in the GTE AM class. Teams from the region are clearly showing that Asian racing is becoming an increasingly significant force on the global stage. Now, with more than 30 cars on the grid for the current season, racing under a dozen different flags, the season is growing in stature and reputation. But it's clear that this is just the start, as the ACO Asian Endurance Racing continues to develop and mature. The mix of prototype and GT cars across 5 categories makes for a perfectly balanced grid, truly showing what the endurance racing pyramid is capable of when a spot at the 24-hour Le Mans race is up for grabs. 2 prototype and 1 GT team will again be invited to take part in the famed 24 hours race in France next year. But to do that, they'll need to race in China, Japan, Thailand and Malaysia, with the competition tougher than ever. This new season of the Asian Le Mans Series promises to be its best one yet. The logistical and operational requirements of setting up and running a major international event involves many aspects of event, operational, race and technical requirements.
The organisation is good, very friendly. Made us welcome.
With more than 32 containers of freight converging on the Zhuhai International Circuit, the paddock is transformed into an international race-ready site.
Because I did it myself, all of them, and I still have it here, it's something really, really special. The money is something that is impossible to explain.
The track stretches 4.3 kilometres in length and originally had 16 corners, but that has now been reduced to 14. The circuit's combination of straights, hard braking areas and tight corners provide plenty of opportunities for overtaking, and it's fast becoming a fixture on the Asian endurance racing calendar. Before we get into the highlights of the race itself, let's take a quick look at how they qualified. In wet and gloomy conditions at the end of the day, Andrea Pizzatola claimed the first pole position of the season for Algarve Pro Racing with a time of 1 minute 38.155, about 8 seconds off the best times from practice when the track had been dry earlier in the day. The qualifying session was red flagged after ARC Bratislava and PS Racing saw their LMP3 cars both stuck in the gravel beds in turns 7 and 8 respectively. Session resumed with less than 3 minutes to go, but it was enough for Ho Pin Tung to set his fastest time, putting Jackie Chan's DC Racing on the front of the grid, with Andrea Rhoda qualifying the number 24 Algarve Pro Racing entry third overall. Richard Bradley was quickest of the 9 LMP3 cars, giving Win Eurasia a pole position and starting from 5th overall. He was closely followed by 2 Ginetta LMP3, with Wiron Tan and Charlie Robinson qualifying Ileso Eco Tint Racing and PRT Racing 2nd and 3rd. The number 68 PS Racing Ligier, the sole CN entry, had a tough start to the weekend with various car troubles, but Akiro Asai posted a time of 1 minute 48.137, giving him a place on the 13th row of the grid. In the second qualifying session for the GT category, the top 8 cars were all within a second of each other, but it was the Ferraris who dominated, with Spirit of Race starting from class pole, thanks to Marco Chiocci's lap time of 1 minute 42.152. Alessandro Pierguidi put Team BBT 1/10 of a second further back, while Matt Griffin was a further 6/100ths of a second back. Good enough to put Clearwater Racing in third. 29 cars set to line up for the opening race of the season. We caught up with Andrea Rhoda, who set pole position for Algarve Racing.
It's a nice feeling. It's the first race of the season, so it's always good to start like this. It's my first time in China, so it's a nice track, and I really enjoy the results for the team. It's nice.
Over 20,000 race fans flocked to the Zhuhai International Circuit to catch a glimpse of their favourite race drivers and race machines ahead of the start of the Asian Le Mans Series season opener, the 4 hours of Zhuhai. And here's a quick look at how the grid formed up ahead of the rolling start. The LMP2 cars lead the pack with Algarve Pro Racing's car number 25 on pole position. Win Eurasia was the first of 9 LMP3 cars and will start from 5th. Further down, debutants Talk With Motorsport start in 9th position, while Spirit of Race leads the GT field in 11th place, ahead of car number 37, Team BBT. LMP3 car number 85 had a difficult start to the weekend and lines up 17th, as does ARC Bratislava, who are 23rd, so keep an eye out for both of them when the lights go green, as they should start to move up the order. And the sole CN entry of PS Racing starts from 26th on the grid, as we see the green McLaren 570 pace car about to pull away before the start of the race. Plenty of action right from the start of this 4-hour marathon, as Algarve Pro Racing's Michael Moonman, in pole position on the left-hand side of the screen, locked his tyres into turn 1, allowing Ho Pin Tung in the Jackie Chan DC Racing LMP2 car to blow past him. Plenty of jockeying for position in the first few corners of the Zhuhai International Circuit, and it's amazing that all the cars got around the first corner safely, but as you can see at the start of the race is a great opportunity to make up a few positions as cars battle their way into the first few corners. Let's take another look at the race start here, riding on board with James Winslow in the Jackie Chan DC Racing LMP3 car. The tyre smoke makes it pretty hard for the rest of the pack to follow as they fly down at top speed and brake hard into the first corner. Meanwhile, as things begin to settle, Ho Pin Tung leads from Stuart Moore of Race Performance, who made a great start, up 2 places from 4th on the grid. But the Zhuhai International Circuit is a very tricky one and a very challenging one, as Rino Mastronardi finds out as his car goes flying off the track towards the crash barriers at turn 11. Not the way the number 3 driver would have wanted to start the race, but luckily he would later rejoin. That brought out the safety car, though fortunately not for very long, as the excitement of a new season appears to be causing a few rash moves amongst the drivers as the field fights for position. Jackie Chan DC Racing and Race Performance were out in front early, but in the other Jackie Chan car, on board now with James Winslow, who finished runners-up in the LMP2 category last season with Algarve Pro Racing. James Winslow is a veteran of the Asian Endurance Circuit, racing here in the LMP3 category for the legendary martial arts star Jackie Chan. Meanwhile, a nice passing move here from China's Wei Chaoyin in the number 5 DH Racing Ferrari 488 GT3 as he makes his way up the field. Elsewhere in the LMP3 category, Nigel Moore in the number 26 Talk With Motorsports car had made a blistering start from 9th on the grid and was now right up with the leaders. More all over the back of pole sitter Michael Moonman here, certainly not content to wait patiently for his opportunity. And with a big wobble, he then goes past the number 25 car, which remember is in the more powerful LMP2 category. Two Brits fighting it out on track halfway around the world from their homeland, but more certainly had the upper hand here in Zhuhai. It's also a classic example of what makes the Asia Le Mans Series just that interesting, when an LMP3 car can overtake an LMP2 car, but the race is far from over yet. A perfect example of how you have to push right to the limit, but not over it, as Wei Xiaoyin flies past another one of his rivals, but overcooks the move and ends up losing a number of places as he goes off track and struggles to recover. And that is Australian Neil Muston in the gravel at turn 1, as Akihiro Asai in the PS Racing CN entry goes through the same section. Muston hit just a moment ago by Tang Chui Ling of the OD Racing Best Leader team. Meanwhile, Estonia's Martin Rump of the PRT Racing, who's had plenty of experience here in Zhuhai in his young career, goes past Ollie Milroy in Team AAI's McLaren. David Burke was just behind the wheel of the number 4 ARC Bratislava for the first stint, one of the two Ginetta LMP3 entries for the Slovakian team. A familiar sight in the first hour as the safety car was out once again, while the other Slovakian entry was cleared, but they were soon all back to racing. Burke was continuing his good progress through the field, but there were battles all over in the opening half hour. The field, of course, had bunched up again after the safety car, with plenty of jostling at the restart. Struan Moore in the number 8 race performance car undid a lot of his good work in the opening laps when he ran wide at turn 7, but luckily he was able to rejoin further back though. There was a fascinating battle between Wei Xiaoyin in the number 5 DH Racing Ferrari 488 GT and Absolute Racing's Jeffrey Lee in the Bentley GT3. With Lee's car on the left-hand side of the screen and Wei on the right, Lee was defending hard as Wei made a series of moves to go past. Wei lists Ayrton Senna as his favorite driver, but he was unable to find some of the Brazilians' magic as Taiwan's Jeffrey Lee somehow managed to hold off his mainland rival. Wei was actually a couple of laps down on Lee after a lengthy pit stop on lap 11, but his pace was every bit as good as this battle shows. And Xiaoyan not able to make the move stick this time round, but he's now riding in the slipstream of the Bentley, and there could be an overtaking opportunity going into the next right-hander. Can Xiaoyan make it work this time around? He has a quick look, dives down the inside, but backs off. Not this time round. Nigel Moore had taken Torquid Sports to the front on lap 14, but just 3 laps later, he was overhauled by Gustavo Menezes, who had replaced Ho Ping Tung in the Jackie Chan DC Racing Orica 03R Nissan, with the American driver setting some blistering lap times at the start of his lengthy stint. The 22-year-old raced in the American Le Mans Series while still a teenager, and earlier this year won the 24 Hours of Le Mans race in the LMP2 category, finishing an impressive 5th overall. He put in a mammoth 43 stint lap and was one of just 4 drivers in the field to dip under the 1 minute 30 second mark over the course of the race. Moore couldn't quite match that pace in the car behind, but given that he was racing in the less powerful LMP3 category, just to stay in touch with Menezes was hugely impressive. Meanwhile, car number 1 in the LMP3 category has come into the pit lane for what is a very early driver change, and James Winslow explains why.
The theory behind that is we're in the LMP3 class. I had a good start. We didn't qualify where we expected to qualify, so they put in maybe, I've done the quickest time in practice, so they put me in the car at the start of the race to make up some of the lost ground. So with the mandatory 4 LMP3 pit stops that we must take, we guessed that we should do one of those under safety cars, so we didn't jump too early. We jumped on like the 25-minute mark on the second safety car. So now we've only got 3 mandatory pit stops to go, and the idea is we lose less time because the rest of the cars on track are traveling slower behind the safety car. So it's worked probably 85% to how we wanted it to work.
While the Asia Le Mans Series overall reigning champion Race Performance was still in touch with the frontrunners after leading for a single lap early on. But on lap 23, there was huge drama as Darren Burke in the number 4 ARC Bratislava car just tags the back of Martin Rump's Ginetta, with Rump spinning a full 180 degrees and deposited in the gravel at turn 4. Moments later, Philippe Pret spun out at the same spot, though the Italian was able to creep off the track to safety before waiting for a chance to safely rejoin the action. So the safety car came out once again, but action soon got back underway. The Rump was sitting helpless on the side of the track for several laps before later rejoining. Meanwhile, car number 86 is in the pit lane for an unscheduled stop. There seems to be some apparent damage to the car, as driver Tang Chin Lun explains.
In the T12 of 140, some touching in happy, yeah.
Meanwhile, back at the front, the leaders were continuing to vie for the top spot in the opening hour, with 6 lead changes in the first 32 laps. William Locke in the number 99 Win Eurasia car was the next to spin after contact with Jeffrey Lee's Bentley shortly before the hour mark. That brought out the safety car once again. But now let's recap the first hour of racing.
So, after a stop-start opening hour to this race, let's take a look at how things had settled down. Jackie Chan, DC Racing's LMP2 entry, was leading the way by just 8 seconds from Race Performance, with Algarve Pro Racing's number 25 entry a further 20 seconds behind in the LMP2 category. Out in front for the LMP3s was Tockwith Motorsports, third overall in the field and just 10 seconds behind the leader. Jackie Chan DC Racing's trio of team boss David Cheng, Pu Junjin and James Winslow were lying second in the category, with ARC Bratislava's number 4 car completing the top 3. In the CN category, PS Racing had moved up 6 places from the start and was lying in 20th position. While in the GT category, Clearwater Racing and KCMG were in the top 2 spots, lying 5th and 6th overall, with Spirit of Racing rounding out the podium positions.
Hello, I'm Yannick Dalmas, 4 times Le Mans winner, 1 time with the McLaren. I will drive the leading car, 1 leading car and 1 safety car. The handling of the car is really fantastic, you know, braking carbon brakes, you brake later, hard on the brakes. We have 3.8 liters, 570 horsepower. The VIP guests enjoy the laps with me.
So it was back to racing after the safety car that came out at the end of the race's first hour. Darren Buke in the number 4 ARC Bratislava car was lying 12th overall and 3rd in the LMP3 category, and had the VS Racing Lamborghini Huracan in his sights as he lapped on the backmarkers. Meanwhile, Matt McMurray had taken over in the number 24 Algarve Pro Racing Ligia Judd, seen here on the left of the screen and trying to chase down David Cheng, team boss of the Jackie Chan DC Racing team, whose LMP2 entry was in the overall lead, with Spirit of Race slightly further ahead. McMurray was competing in the LMP2 category, and his fellow American Cheng, who races under the Chinese flag, was in the LMP3 category. Teenager McMurray comes from an endurance racing family and 2 years ago became the youngest driver to participate in and finish the 24 hours race of Le Mans at the age of 16. He's also raced in the European Le Mans Series, so has clocked up plenty of miles both in and out of the car at a very young age. The safety car only appeared once in the second hour, as opposed to 4 times in the opening 60 minutes, allowing the often colourful competitors to concentrate on their racing. Struan Moore of Race Performance, seen here lapping Chinese motorsports legend Frankie Cheng, was coming to the end of his 54-lap stint, but was under increasing pressure from Nicky Katzberg in the number 25 Algarve Pro Racing car, who was closing him down in second place. Into the pits comes the GT class race leader Clearwater Racing, and we caught up with Mok Weng San, who's just come out of the car.
I started the race in P2. I managed to get into P1 of the GT class by turn 1, and I just put my head down and tried to pull a gap. And my engineer was on the radio telling me the pace was good, I was pulling away, but I got neutralized twice by the safety car, but still managed to pull a slight gap. So I don't know, some of the other cars were coming in during the safety car to do the mandatory pit stop, so I don't know whether by staying out that's going to hurt us. We'll see after this whole sequence of stops finish, but it was a great stint. I had a lot of fun, the pace was good, and really enjoyed keeping the pros behind.
On board now with number 1 as Jackie Chan DC Racing passes sister outfit Win Eurasia. Both teams are being operated by Eurasia Motorsports. Into the pits is the LMP3 class race leader, and we caught up with Nigel Moore.
Yeah, no, we had a great start to be fair. First corner was really good, second corner, right, going into turn 4, there was a little bit of touch between a few of us, but no, we managed to stay on, and from then on just stay out of trouble. There's a few slower cars out there, and some of the P2s as well, quick in the straight, but all around the corners are not great. So no, we managed to stay out of trouble, which is great. We're leading our class, and it's early days, but it's looking good.
Here's a classic example of what makes endurance racing so appealing, with cars from different categories all fighting for position on the same track, while also trying to top their individual categories. Toru Tanaka is at the front of this trio in the KCMG Audi R8 LMS GT3 car, holding off GT rival Marco Ciocchi in the number 38 Spirit of Race Ferrari. But coming between them is Gustavo Menezes in the number 35 Oreca Nissan, still leading the race in both the LMP2 category and overall. In fact, given the relatively tight nature of the circuit, the GT cars were able to compete on a more level playing field with the prototypes, or else they might find it harder to keep up on some of the long straights that await the drivers later in the season. After a 6-lap spell leading the race towards the end of the first hour, Talk with Motorsports, with Phil Hansen having replaced Nigel Moore behind the wheel, was back in 3rd place, but still within touching distance of the lead car. Trailing Hansen here was Angelo Negro in the PS Racing Under 03, with the Italian keeping pace with his LMP3 rivals, even though he was several laps down on the front car. The pressure tells here, as Jackie Chan DC Racing's David Cheng just runs wide here, allowing the number 8 and 25 car to pass on the inside, even though Cheng quickly recovered from his mistake. Yu Lam in Team AAI's number 90 BMW M6 was the next victim as the pair continued their march around the track. There was a big spin for the number 48 car coming out of turn 14 and touching the tyre barriers at the top of the home straight. But Philippe Pett was able to rejoin the action, if a little gingerly. But he was later called in for a 5-second stop-and-go penalty for his troubles, which didn't help the PS Racing cause. At first look, there didn't seem to be any obvious damage to the car as Pett slowly made his way back out on track. However, he wasn't able to get his race machine back up to racing speed and was an easy victim down the start-finish straight as the cars behind him came up and lapped him going into turn 1, which cost him a few more positions. There was plenty of passing action that happened all over the track, with youngster Matt McMurray carving through the field here. Then it was the turn of Charlie Robertson in the number 67 PRT Racing Ginetta LMP3 car, seen here overtaking Adrian Zaug in the number 6 VS Racing car. Robertson, in the third of these 4 cars, has an impressive pedigree in the European Le Mans Series LMP3 champion from last year, and also signed on as an official Ginetta factory driver in January this year, marking him out as one of UK's hottest young talents in the world of endurance racing. And after breezing past the South African, Zaug in car number 6, Robertson was immediately putting pressure on the next car in front of him. Next, there was contact at turn 4 between two of the leading cars, with both the race performance car and Algarve's number 25 spinning out into the gravel. That brought out the safety car for a couple of laps, but fortunately, both cars were able to get back into the race, though they lost a lot of positions. David Cheng in Jackie Chan's DC racing car was now the lead LMP3 car, putting in some quick laps including his best of the day, a 1 minute 34.5 seconds set on lap 61. The number 1 car was having a hugely successful race, having started from 10th on the grid and now running 3rd as the race approached the midway stage.
We are very lucky because since the beginning we stopped at the good moment during the safety car for the 2 cars, for LMP3 also. And well, unfortunately for our competitors in LMP2, they have crashed together. And we have a plan to stop at the same moment. Donc, it was the perfect moment to stop, to change the driver, change the tires.
Let's take a ride now with Matt McMurray in the number 24 Algarve Pro Racing Ligier Judd. He's on the left-hand side of your screen, with Miro Konopka in the ARC Bratislava Gineta number 4 car on the right. McMurray was in the more powerful LMP2 car and, as a result, was lapping several seconds per lap quicker than the Slovakian. And you can see just how quickly McMurray catches him up before powering past, now positioned in 2nd place at this point, and obviously looking to close in on the leader. Miro Konopka can only watch as McMurray pulls away in the more powerful car. Meanwhile, into the pits is car number 92. They've had a very difficult race so far here in Zhuhai, as Chi Hung shares with us.
First time in this car, and I only got one session to practice, and first time in this circuit, and first time in Xiaolong. So, you know, try to be stable, but there's a lot of traffic around, so, you know, sometimes you want to make a turn, and then when I want to come back in, there's like, you know, P2 cars, you know, passing by, so I missed the first entry. But, you know, overall, oh good. You know, it's a great experience.
With just a handful of retirements so far in the first half of the race and a reduction in safety car incidents, there was plenty of time for the teams to enact their strategic plans, with some teams choosing just to have 2 driver changes, such as Nicky Katzberg's blue number 25 Algarve Pro Racing outfit, while other teams opted for as many as 4. Algarve is also unique because it's one of the teams that has a female team manager. Samantha Cox is in charge of powering this team to the checkered flag. Meanwhile, car number 88 in the pits and looking doubtful that they can get their car to the checkered flag.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had a bit of contact out there, so the damage was just a bit too much to keep going. A little bit dangerous, the front splitter was hanging off. Yeah, unfortunately, a lengthy repair, so you know, we'll give the guys a run here and see how we get on.
Here's how things were looking at the halfway stage. No change at the front, with Jackie Chan DC Racing's LMP2 entry 3/4 of a minute ahead of Algarve Pro Racing's number 24, who had moved up 6 places in the past hour to second, while the team's other entry was lying 3rd in the category. Jackie Chan DC Racing now also had control of the LMP3 category, lying 3rd overall and a full 3 minutes ahead of Tockwith Motorsports, with ARC Bratislava's number 4 entry 3rd in the category. PS Racing CN entry had stopped shortly after the hour mark, having completed 37 laps. While in the GT category, the top 5 was separated by less than a minute, with VS Racing leading from Absolute Racing's Audi R8 GT3 and KCMG. With more than 30 cars spread across 5 categories, each Asian Le Mans Series race is guaranteed to have one of the most diverse grids in motorsport. Let's take a look at the differences between each class. Just one rung below the top LMP1 class of the FIA World Endurance Championship, The LMP2 or Le Mans Prototype 2 class is a key part of the endurance pyramid, designed to allow teams and drivers to progress to the highest level. Each team must have at least one silver or bronze rated driver, and the winning team at the end of the season is invited to the 24 Hours of Le Mans race. Also invited to Le Mans is the winning outfit from the LMP3 class, a new category sports prototype launched in 2015. The LMP3 category aims to be as inclusive as possible, with the fewest number of budgetary, technical, driving or operation constraints. The driver lineup must have at least one bronze-rated driver, although top-ranked platinum drivers are not allowed. The final prototype category is the CN category, which is specific to the Asian Le Mans Series. A set number of cars have been declared eligible for the class, which has particular requirements for the chassis and engine. Designed as a mid-term solution to encourage more entries in Asia, allowing for even more competition throughout the field. A fantastic and very diverse field of cars will be battling this season in the GT category for the Asian Le Mans Series. The winning team will be invited in the GTE AM class of the 24 Hours of Le Mans race in France at the end of the season. These cars are all based on production models, with defined limits and specifications according to their individual category.
Welcome back to the Asian Le Mans Series, the 4 Hours of Zhuhai, the season opener. And we kick off the second half of the race with some onboard action in the number 24 Pro Algarve racing car. Matt McMurray here already passed the Dutch driver at De Jong in the number 67 car, and now going past Slovakian Konstantinos Kalko from ARC Bratislava. Murray using the full power to get past the Slovakian car. Into the pit lane comes the race leader, number 35, Jackie Chan DC Racing. They have been leading the race quite comfortably, but as Ho Ping Tung tells us, it hasn't been all that easy.
Very difficult, to be honest. From the very first lap, we struggled a lot, and actually, I think after 2 or 3 laps, I was behind a Ferrari and drove over some debris and made things even worse. So yeah, let's hope that we solved it during the pit stop. We lost a bit of time, but we have a lot of heavy tire damage, so I don't know whether it was some aero part damage on the car or something. We need to check.
Back out on track, car number 4, ARC Bratislava, ran into a little bit of trouble when it got stuck in the dirt at turn 11. Miro Konopka, the man responsible this time around. The 4 LMP2 entries in the field were all battling hard for position at the front, with number 35 Jackie Chan DC Racing and number 24 Algarve Pro Racing out in front at the halfway stage. Completing the top 3 overall was the second Jackie Chan DC Racing entry, the number 1 LMP3 car, with Chinese driver Pu Junjin going past first the number 90 Team AAI BMW M6 and then passing number 51 KCMG Audi R8 LMS. Hailing from the nearby Foshan in southern China, Pu Junjin has amassed a wealth of experience in endurance racing and was part of the Eurasia Motorsports team that finished 5th in the LMP2 category at this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans, placing an impressive 9th overall. Backed by the sports division of Daiho Group, the main official sponsors of the Asian Le Mans Series, the Hong Kong-based DH Racing had entered 2 identical Ferrari 488s in the GT category. In fact, only one of the 2 cars would score points, with the number 3 car unable to finish after stints from Italian Rino Mastronardi, Spaniard Alex Riberes and Olivier Beretta, the veteran driver from Monaco who competed in Formula 1 back in 1994. Beretta had yet to get in the car at this point, but would be forced to retire about 10 laps short of the finish. Meanwhile, Rui Aguas was going along very well in the number 38 Spirit race, which had also entered a Ferrari 488. The Mozambique-born Portuguese driver is no stranger to endurance racing, having competed in the 24 Hours of Le Mans race on 5 occasions, including earlier this year where he finished 2nd in the GTE AM category. The reigning champion race performance car had earlier taken a drive-through penalty for overtaking under a yellow flag and was under immense pressure here from the number 25 Algarve Pro Racing car. In fact, Andrea Pizzitola in the chasing blue car had just twice set the fastest lap of the race only a few laps apart. His teammate Nicky Katzberg had been caught by a braking move that caused a crash and lost the team a lot of time. Moreover, Pizzitola later said the steering wheel wasn't straight, but he was pushing all the time and was still able to go fast. Interestingly, the 24-year-old Frenchman Pizzitola and Asia Le Mans Series teammate Michael Moonman teamed up with British cycling legend Sir Chris Hoy, winner of 6 Olympic gold medals at this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans race, where they finished 12th in the LMP2 category. While the number 91 Team AAI car was leading a pack down the straight here, the sister entry, number 92, was having no such luck, with Li Bin's race over after crashing out at turn 11. Elsewhere, Julio Acosta in the number 85 car was battling for supremacy in the LMP3 category with Chinese driver Pu Junjin. The Jackie Chan DC Racing team was supported throughout the weekend by Eurasia Motorsports, which had just finished the European Le Mans Series before heading to Zhuhai. Ho Ping Chung has competed in the Asian Le Mans Series over the past few years, while teammate Gustavo Menezes comes from a single-seater racing background but now has plenty of endurance racing and success under his belt, having taken the LMP2 honours alongside Nicolas Lapierre and Stéphane Rechelmy at Le Mans this year. Each driver did 2 stints, and Tung was back in the car for the second of the day, during which he was steering the Oreca Nissan into the lead until the team's next pit stop and driver change. The dynamics in the number 1 car were quite interesting, with team boss David Cheng having competed against current teammate James Winslow and Pun Junjin in the first and second seasons of the Asia Le Mans Series, with Cheng saying it was incredible for them now to be in the same car. Pu Junjin was the man behind the wheel as he went past the number 67 car and was doing his best to deliver what for team boss Cheng would be an 11th consecutive win in the series. Also in the LMP3 category, car number 26 Tokwick Motorsports was making its way through the field trying to catch the race leader. And getting out of the way quickly was car number 88, perhaps going a little too much onto the gravel. Ahead of him, car number 25, the LMP2 race car there, in its own battle, trying to hunt down the leaders. Gustavo Menezes had now taken over for the final stint in the number 35 car, with the Americans setting a new fastest lap time of the race, posting a mark of 1 minute 29.860 on lap 101. He was trailed here by the Malaysian-based Alezo Racing Team and the number 2 Absolute Racing Audi R8 GT3 car, with rising star Alessio Piccarello behind the wheel. In the pit lane, more bad luck for car number 99.
Well, both of my stints were pretty unlucky. You know, first stint I got hit by the penalty from behind. I have no idea why. And then we lost the rear lights, so that we had to come in, and then we had the triple stint because the air jack and the pump has a problem as well. So we lose a lot of time there.
The problem was he got hit at the back by a GT car, and it broke the connection for the air jack. So when we came in to change the tyre in the last stint, we couldn't change the tyre. So we triple stint the tyre now, but that's as long as they can go. And we need to fix the air jack. At the same time, during the last stint, we lost the shoebox on the corner with the lights, so we have to replace that also.
Back on track and on board with Absolute Racing's car number 88, the Bentley GT3, with seasoned performer Adley Fong on for the third and final stint. The Hong Kong driver won the Asia-based Audi R8 LMS Cup Championship 3 years ago, and at this stage of the race has his rear-view mirror full at this point, and with cars looking to blast past him. The 24 Algarve Pro Racing Leisure Judd had just gone into the overall race lead on lap 86, with Andrea Roda beginning a massive 60-lap stint from then till the end of the race. The 26-year-old Italian grew up in single-seater championships, though more recently he's had success in the European Le Mans Series. And he's making his debut in the Asian Le Mans Series, back on the continent for the first time since 2012, when he last competed in the Macau Formula 3 Grand Prix. It's been a disappointing outing here in Zhuhai for Team AAI, and here's what the driver of car number 92 had to say.
There's a Ferrari coming from behind the second hairpin. I was outside because the car was overlap us, so I just, for safety reasons, I just let him go. I don't want to block him, but we both brake, but I thought he got to turn much earlier because for the hairpin we don't have much runoff space on the outside, but he didn't turn, so either I hit him or I go straight, so no choice.
As Corey Lewis was flying around the track in his VS Racing number 6 Lamborghini Hurricane, drama was just around the corner. William Lock in the number 99 Win Eurasia car spun at turn 1 and was then hit by At De Jong in the number 67 PRT Racing Ginetta LMP3 car, sending both into the gravel 3/4 of the way through the race.
After 3 of the 4 hours were gone, there were some incredibly close battles at the Zhuhai International Circuit. Algarve Pro Racing's number 24 had continued its impressive climb and was now leading the race. 4.5 seconds ahead of Jackie Chan DC Racing's LMP2 entry, with Algarve's number 25 third in the category. Tockwith Motorsports had retaken the lead in the LMP3 category, but the Jackie Chan DC Racing car was less than 1/2 second behind, with G-Print by 111 Racing in third, but down in 15th overall. Meanwhile, VS Racing, 19th at the start, had climbed up all the way to 6th overall and was leading the GT category with just 1 hour to go, with Absolute Racing and Spirit of Race filling the next 2 spots.
Le Mans is obviously the premier sort of endurance racing series in the world, and to be involved in Asian Le Mans in such a big way, we're very hopeful for our chances in this championship. We've become the series sponsor, we're entering 2 Ferrari 488 GT3s, and we're looking forward to a good season.
So the final hour of the 4 hours of Zhuhai began with the safety car back out on track as the marshals scrambled to clear the Win Eurasia and PRT racing cars from the gravel trap and get them back to racing. The fight amongst the leading contenders really came to the fore in the last hour of the race, with 3 of the LMP2 cars coming to the front. But as the field bunched up together again at the restart, check out the contact here between the blue number 2 Audi R8 of Absolute Racing and the red number 5 Ferrari 488 of DH Racing, with debris flying up into the air. The action and overtakes continued to flow, with James Winslow back in the number 1 Jackie Chan DC Racing car, passing Adley Fong in the Absolute Racing's Bentley GT3, while Matt Griffin in the number 61 Clearwater went up the inside of At De Jong in the PRT Racing car. Into the pit lane comes car 25.
Really good, to be fair. It's nice to be in this position. We still need to fight for the next 52 minutes and be sure we will do.
After some changeable conditions on the previous day, the weather for the race itself was cooler and drier, much to the advantage of the teams, who were able to put in some quality lap times, particularly in the latter stages. Former champion car number 8 Race Performance right here, making its way through the back markers as it continues its quest to try and move up the order. Andrea Roda was behind the wheel of the number 24 Algarve Pro Racing car at this stage and was absolutely flying, even quicker than his teammate Mac McMurray had done earlier. Swiss outfit Race Performance didn't have the best of weekends, with last year's title winner hit by a string of bad luck. An engine failure in the first free practice had set the tone, which was compounded in the race when, after a good start, the car was hit from behind by Algarve Pro Racing number 24, who received a drive-through penalty for the move. But the number 8 Race Performance car was forced into the pits for several laps, which all but ended their chance of victory. American Corey Lewis was behind the wheel of the number 6 VS Racing Lamborghini Hurricane at this point. Lewis won the 2015 Lamborghini Super Trofeo Pro-Am World Cup Championship title and was again accepted into the Lamborghini Driver Development Program for this year, but wasn't able to hold off the number 1 car on this occasion. GT pole sitter number 38 Spiritual Race Ferrari 488 GT3, driven by Nasrat Musayin, Rio Aguas and Marco Ciocchi, had a textbook race and were well on their way to the category win, finishing 5th overall. James Winslow was back in the number 1 Jackie Chan DC Racing Ligier JSP3 for the final stint of the race and was getting quicker and quicker as he went on, setting the team's fastest lap just 4 laps from the checkered flag. Winslow later conceded he'd let his team down in qualifying, but his race performance was spotless. He also made sure to credit his teammates David Cheng and Pu Junjin. But for all the teams, endurance racing is about strategy as much as it is about the pace on track. Winslow's crew found success in part because they took advantage of the safety cars, successfully adapting their pit stop strategy on the fly, which would end up resulting in an LMP3 category win, finishing 4th overall. The number 6 VS Racing Lamborghini Hurricane GT3 was on course for a podium finish in the GT category. Impressive considering the team started from 19th on the grid. The driver trio of Kay Cozzolino, Adrian Zaug and Corey Lewis had even managed to lead the GT class at one point. Meanwhile, category rival Team AAI's number 91 McLaren 650 wasn't doing so well, running wide here at turn 9. With 10 lead changes throughout the course of the race, the battle for top spot wasn't decided until deep into the final hour. Algarve Pro Racing's number 24 had taken the lead for the second time on lap 86, staying out in front for more than 30 laps. But the decisive move came on lap 119, when Gustavo Menezes in the number 35 car hit the front, and a lead he wouldn't relinquish. At one point though, things had not been looking so good. His teammate, Ho Ping Tung, had earlier run over some debris, cutting his tyre, which then blocked the radiator ducting. But a fortunately timed safety car allowed the team to pit, tyre change and clean out the radiators without costing too much time. In the final 20 minutes, they had again to pit for a final splash of fuel, and they also had a penalty to serve for overtaking before the start line on one of the restarts. But they successfully overcame all the obstacles in their way and would ultimately cruise to a 44-second victory. The LMP3 cars really held their own during the race, with the Yorkshire-based number 26 Tockwig Motorsport Ligier even leading the overall for a number of laps, though they would finish second in the category. The Algarve Pro Racing team had suffered earlier in the weekend with the late arrival of their cars, and the number 25 car was hit with a clutch issue all weekend. Michael Moonman, who drove the opening sting, later apologized for locking his brakes at the start in losing position, but his teammates Nicky Katzberg and Andrea Pizzitola recovered well to post a third-place finish for the team, even accounting for their earlier crash. The team's other car, number 24, also had some issues at the start, this time some electrical problems and some troubles with the shifting during Tak Sun Kim's stint, but finished an impressive second place. Disaster for race performance on the last lap as the car's left front disc exploded, sending Strand Moore into the gravel for a sad end to his race. Earlier, of course, the number 25 had received a drive-through penalty for bumping the race performance car, with the Swiss team leaving pointless in the standings because he was unable to cross the finish line. But the undisputed winners were the dynamic duo of Ho Ping Tung and Gustavo Menezes, who spent 96 of the 146 race lap in the lead, with Menezes the one to take the checkered flag at the end of the 4 hours. Overall, it was a hugely successful opening race weekend at the Zhuhai International Circuit for the new season, with 29 cars on the grid and with 20,000 fans in the grandstand coming out to watch the first ever 4-hour Asian Le Mans Series race. It also sets up the next round perfectly, with the teams itching to renew their battles just over a month from now in Fuji, Japan.
And here are the official results of the 4 Hours of Zhuhai, the first race of the season. Ho Pin Tung and Gustavo Menezes kicked off their season with a win for Jackie Chan DC Racing's LMP2 outfit, with the Algarve Pro Racing teams completing the podium. It's another win for the Jackie Chan DC Racing in the LMP3 category, with Spirit of Race the first GT car to cross the line in 5th. Top With Motorsports finished 10th ahead of car number 85 in 12th place, while Win Eurasia will be disappointed with their 15th after their promising qualifying form. Absolute Racing's Car 88 was the final car to cross the finishing line, followed by a long list of teams that didn't see the checkered flag. And here's a look at the team classifications. Jackie Chan DC Racing lead both the LMP2 and LMP3 categories with their respective wins, with PS Racing taking the points in the CN category and car number 38, Spirit of Race, tops the GT category.
Although the race looked incredibly good, it was a lot of challenge between the team. They did an incredible job, Ho Pin as well. I mean, he was dealing with some cooling issues, and we caught some debris in the car, but in the end, couldn't have asked for a better way to start the season.
We fight until the last lap to take the first position, but it was really difficult. But the pace was good of all three drivers, and the team made a very house-on job. So I'm very happy for this second position for first race in Asian Le Mans Series.
It was a difficult race for us, a bit unlucky. Yeah, we can be happy about what we did with all the things happened. Michael also did a great job, so yeah, I think we can be happy.
And that concludes a successful start to the Asia Le Mans Series 2016-2017 season. We'll see you in Fuji for the next round.